Hey everybody, Steve here, and today in this video my voice sounds a little funny because I am under the weather. Hence the warmer clothes, hence the I still have my latte. We're not that sick. But it ends up we're going to talk a little bit about nutrition and how there are a number of things that we need to consider. Now, one of these new things that somebody has asked me about is intuitive eating and unscheduled eating. I brought this up in a number of posts on different pages on unscheduled eating and how unscheduled eating is really the thing that derails our fitness goals when it comes to weight loss, especially weight loss, but it can also derail our bulking if you're trying to gain muscle and things like that. So unscheduled eating can really, in a nutshell, just flip the tables on everything that you're trying to do. And so, for example, when it comes to bulking, now I know a lot of people don't have a problem with bulking, but you're supposed to be in a calorie surplus. In that calorie surplus, you're still going to follow a daily macro, such as 40% carbs, 40% protein, 20% fat, or some variation of those ratios. Some people have higher carbs, lower protein. I've just recently upped my carbs from 40% to, I'd say, about 45%, dropped the protein down a bit, and I've noticed some good results with bulking just for the short time that I'm doing it. So it's with that, unscheduled eating can really mess you up because not in regards to calories, in the surplus of calories that you eat, because for most people it's like, oh great, I get to eat whatever I want on bulking, and it's like, you can go so far with bulking and it can end up being a dirty bulk, which is way back in the day where you just eat tons of food and tons of anything, and then along with gaining muscle, you also gain a lot of body fat. So what bodybuilders of the past would do would be a dirty bulk, and they would just get huge, fat, and big, and then they would go through a cut, and then they get rid of the body fat. Well, it's 2024. And now what people can end up doing is you can do a lean bulk where you can still gain muscle, but not gain all of that fat, that body fat. It's unnecessary. If you can gain muscle and reduce the amount of body fat that you gain, then it's a win-win situation. However, unscheduled eating can mess that up in regards to your macros because you end up eating way too many carbs, not enough protein, too much salt, too much, things like that. Way too much fats. So it can really put that ratio out of whack, and that can derail your bulking to some degree. Excuse me. When it comes to weight loss is probably the biggest segment of people, and their goal is to lose body fat. So, how does unscheduled eating derail you? Well, when we talk about losing body fat, you like the physique that you have, but you just want to lose some body fat to tone down to get some visible abs action to reduce some visceral body fat, which is bad for longevity. So they'll go on their diet. Unfortunately, I don't like the word diet because that means that you're doing something that over a period of time you're going to stop and then go back to a different type of eating behavior. So what I like to do is a nutrition plan that is a long-term nutrition plan. So if I'm going to be in a calorie deficit, my nutrition plan is going to have me in a calorie deficit, but it's going to be with the foods that I enjoy, the foods that I like to eat, but it'll just be a reduction of those foods in regards to calories, and we're going to try to stay within those macros. Unscheduled eating, unfortunately, comes into play where what happens is most people don't know how to estimate calories. Most people don't know how to estimate carbs or protein or fats or anything like that, and they often underreport the amount of calories that they take in. So if you're trying to lose body fat and you're in a calorie deficit and then you go on a cheat meal and you can blow a whole week's worth of work in regards to losing body fat by having a couple of cheat meals. You just go to a fast food restaurant or you go to, regular restaurant, and here's the plate of pasta, and here's the risotto, and here's this, and here's the all the food, and it doesn't click in your mind, and we cannot estimate properly how many calories there are. And there have been some studies that have actually come out where it talks about where people cannot, they underreport the calories. Now, we've seen the shows, we've seen the TV shows in the UK and the United States where, you have these overweight people. Oh, I don't know why I can't lose weight. It must be something with my metabolism. It's my metabolism is slow. But then they follow the people around and they say, well, how much do you eat in a day? And they give a number, and then they follow them around. And then they find out it's like 2 or 3 times the amount that they said that they were eating, that they estimated that they were eating. So there's a clear differentiation between what they think they're eating versus what they actually are. So they're underreporting. The majority of people don't know. Now, you will hear the little things and say, well, if it's within the palm of your hand, that's 6 ounces of this or whatever, like this or whatever, some type of measurement using the hand. And the problem is that's not standardized. Some people have large hands, some people have small hands. And combine that with the fact that most people can't accurately estimate calories or macros, just intensifies the problem of trying to lose body weight when they go on unscheduled eating. So unless you have measured out your food and meal planned and meal prepped for the week, and you have constantly gone over and say, okay, well, I'm measuring out this chicken, I'm measuring out the beef and the vegetables and the rice and all of this, and 1 cup equals this many calories, and so on and so forth. The average person will underreport their calories. And if you underreport, that can actually tip the scales to where you are now no longer in a calorie deficit, but you're in a calorie surplus. So is it any wonder that people are like, oh, I don't understand why I'm not losing weight? I'm eating clean. How many times have we heard that? I'm eating clean, or I'm eating whole foods, or I'm eating organic food, and as if, you know, the calories in those items or organic food or whatever, non-processed food or whole foods or whatever, clean foods, somehow does not have the same caloric intake as their processed partners. No, that's not how it works. You can eat clean, and I've actually met people who eat clean and are obese and don't understand why, because they're eating clean. And it's like when you do the numbers and you say, oh, we go over and we talk about, okay, well, how much do you eat? What did you eat for breakfast? What did you eat for lunch? What did you snack on? What did and not in an accusatory way or trying to get, oh, you're terrible because you ate all this food, but rather as just, okay, well, let's see what you eat. And let's see if we can fine tune, and let's see if we can tweak your nutrition plan to where we can get you back on to losing body fat. So in that way, the people are more honest as to what they eat. And when you run the numbers, then it's like, okay, well, you think you're eating 2,000 calories a day or 1,700 calories a day, but you're actually eating more like 3,000 calories and 4,000 calories a day. Can you see the problem that we're facing? There's a good reason why you're not losing body weight is because you can't accurately estimate the amount of calories that you're supposed to be taking in. You're underreporting. So rather than yell and scream at these people and make them feel bad, we need to educate these people and say, hey, we need to work on your skills when it comes to estimating calories. So, yeah, the unscheduled eating can be really bad because you can do a whole week's worth of good work in regards to losing body fat with a calorie deficit, and it can only take a day or two to absolutely obliterate that. And usually that comes in the form of unscheduled eating. That's why I recommend a nutrition plan where you can cut and eat the same foods that you like. Granted, you have to stay within your calorie goals and your macro ratios, but just have less of those things. You can lose weight on anything. Matter of fact, I saw an article where a guy, or a video where a guy was eating like, what was it, Little Debbie cakes and Swiss rolls and all this stuff. And he still lost weight because he actually measured the calories or counted the calories of these things and put himself into a calorie deficit. Now, is a little Debbie cake and ho-hos and all those things, are those really healthy for you? No, absolutely not. But to say that you need to totally abstain from these things because they're evil in some way, shape, or form is not absolutely true. It's absolutely okay to enjoy something like a latte or enjoy a cookie or something like that, as long as it fits within your nutrition plan. So recently, somebody has brought up and said, well, there's been more than one person, but a few people have asked me about intuitive eating over, say, the last few months. And the most recent person brought it up, and what do you think about intuitive eating? So we're going to go over what is intuitive eating and take a look at this. So, with that being said, this is the 10 principles of intuitive eating. And there's these 10 principles. And basically, with intuitive eating, what you're doing is you're listening to your body's cues to, instead of being on a diet and counting calories and taking in your macros, okay, well, did I meet my macros or not, or whatever? It's kind of just kind of a touchy-feely type of thing. It came out in the 90s, I think it was. And these are the 10 principles that they came up. There are some studies that have been done by these two dietitians that say that this is a thing and it's good. I don't know. Reject the diet mentality throughout the diet books and all of that stuff. Honor your hunger. Keep your body biologically fed with adequate energy and carbs. Otherwise, you trigger a primal drive to overeat. You read a moment of excessive hunger. All intentions of moderate conscious eating are fleeting and irrelevance. Learning to honor the first biological signal sets the stage of rebuilding trust in yourself and the food. Make peace with food. Challenge the food police. Scream a loud no to the thoughts in your head to declare good. Declare you're good for eating minimal calories and bad because you ate a piece of chocolate cake. And now I kind of agree with this to some degree. You can have that piece of chocolate cake as long as it fits within your nutrition plan, especially when we're talking about losing body fat. To get the most efficient and effective way to lose body fat, you need to be in a calorie deficit over a long period of time that is sustainable and has variety and tastes good as a positive reinforcement to keep you on that train to lose body fat. Then everything will work well. But to say that some foods are, bad and some foods are good, or, oh, I can't eat that. I can't eat Doritos because they're terrible. And I'll just, eat a whole bag. That's where it comes into discipline. Don't eat the whole bag. You could have some, just bring it within your plan and enjoy some of those things, but don't go crazy and abstain. 100% say those foods are bad. Discover the satisfaction factor, feel your fullness, cope with your emotions in kindness, respect your body, movement, feel the difference, exercise, honor your health, things of that nature. Excuse me. The problem is with this type of plan and this type of intuitive eating, like there are some problems with this, and we're going to take a look at this. And as we went and we talked about, do dietitians accurately report their food intake? Well, in this study here, it talks about how one study comparing obese twins to their non-obese twin counterparts indicated underreporting of 764 calories a day. In another study, certain individuals are underreporting their food intake by up to 2,000 calories a day. That's like a whole nother person's meals. Underreporting is quite entrenched. Matter of fact, paying people doesn't help them report their intake more accurately. People will still underreport even when they know their calorie intake can be verified. Now, this is where we go and we talk about the people that have been on the TV shows and, oh, I don't understand why I can't lose weight, and, oh, I'm eating I'm eating clean, I'm eating whole foods, and within about 2,200 calories a day, and then they end up it's like 3 or 4,000, 5,000 calories a day. Some of the problems that we have with intuitive eating is because people, one, don't study and know exactly what intuitive eating is. In other words, they hear the word intuitive eating, just listen to your body and eat what your body says. But there is some discipline that comes with intuitive eating, and if you don't discipline yourself, then intuitive eating is going to fail. And the problem that I see with intuitive eating is that most people won't train themselves. Most people won't discipline themselves. So whether they're on a nutrition plan to be in a calorie deficit or do intuitive eating, a lot of people are going to fail. The majority of people that get on a diet fail, or they'll do the diet and then later on they'll gain the weight back because they go back to their normal eating patterns as before they went on their diet. So that's why I like a nutrition plan where you can eat the same foods that you normally eat, just reduce the amount of those foods so that you can lose the body weight that you want to lose, say, the love handles and the things and all that, whatever. You lose all that, and then when you go on a maintenance phase, you're still eating the same foods that you enjoy, but you're able to go at a level where you increase and you maintain that physique by still eating the same foods that you love. So that's the joy. That's the benefit of having a nutrition plan for longevity versus having a diet or a fad where you abstain and you do serious calorie deficits. But as soon as you go off it and you go back to a calorie surplus, you're going to gain that body fat back. The majority of people do. So with that being said, intuitive eating, one of the problems I see is that, it says, well, your internal, listen to the cues of your body in regards to hunger. Well, the problem with that is your stomach, when you eat a lot of food, it expands, and when it expands, it doesn't feel as full as what it did before. So in other words, you're pushing the boundaries of your stomach to have more food, and so the signal that says, okay, I'm full, goes up and it's not set at the same place every time. So, in other words, if you keep eating, your stomach keeps getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And to get that sensation of fullness, you eat more food. So, the problem that I see with intuitive eating, especially with obese people, is that they have already pushed the limits of their stomach, and eating intuitively is not going to work because they end up eating more calories than what they actually need. If you're eating to feel full or eating, that's the problem. It's kind of like going back to the hand thing as a measurement. If everybody's hand was the same, if everybody's stomach was the exact same size, then I could see how intuitive eating could work. But people have different levels of feeling satisfied when they eat, dependent upon the size of their stomach. So yeah, that's kind of problematic right there. And then, as we said before, most people, even dietitians, have problems correctly estimating food, and they underreport the calories. And then there was one study, yeah, that's what I talked about before. Uh, in fact, some restaurant foods and some commercially available processed foods can average 8 to 18% more calories than what is indicated on the label or menu. And certain individual items can have over 200% more calories. Yeah, so you can see there's a lot of things with unscheduled eating and intuitive eating that can bite us in the ass and actually put more fat in our ass. So yeah, it's just kind of crazy. Do dietitians accurately report their food? Now I want to talk about this one here, and this is from weightology.net. In case you can see the link up there. The doubly labeled water method allows us to determine when somebody's accurately reporting a calorie intake. Researchers of Pennington Biomedical Research Center, the accuracy of dietitians, people who are trained and educated to do nutrition plans and bring forth diet, self-reported food intake to the accuracy of non-dietitians. The researchers recruited 10 female registered dietitians and 10 women of comparable age and weight who were not dietitians. All of the subjects were trained to provide a 7-day weighted food daily record. The water test was used to measure energy expenditure over the same 7 days. Participants were told the goal was to record food intake as accurately as possible. So it wasn't in regards to, oh, weight loss, and so people are going to be on their best behavior. It's just to accurately record what they ate. The results showed that dietitians underreported their food by an average of 223 calories a day, while the non dietitians underreported their intake on an average of 429 calories a day. Now, again, this is with people who had training. They were trained. One of them, their job was being a dietitian that takes years of college education and actually work experience and so on and so forth. And then the people that were not dietitians, these other women, the 10 women, they were trained. It doesn't say how long they were trained, but it ends up, somewhere between 223 calories and 423 calories a day that they underreported the amount of calories that came in. Thus, while being a dietitian improves the accuracy of self-report of food intake, it does not eliminate the phenomena of underreporting. So, yeah, it's and that's the problem. Even if you're a dietitian, it seems when we turn the spotlight on ourselves, we as human beings don't want to be accurate. We don't want to be accountable. Excuse me. We don't want to be accountable for our actions. And so we're not as hard on ourselves as we are with other people. And even then, what we see in this little study of 20 women, again, the pool is small, but it just highlights the fact that even if you're a dietitian who has been trained and that is your occupation, you're going to have problems because you're going to underreport the amount of calories that are going in. So again, if we take this to intuitive eating, it's still the same problem. Intuitive eating is based on your internal cues, and there's some things that say, well, you can eat all the same foods that you want. Well, the problem is still that people underreport what they eat. So instead of intuitive eating, my preference is not intuitive eating, but eating to a caloric goal and meet those daily macros. Those goals for your carbs, your proteins, and your fats. Now, eventually, over a period of time, when you do meal prep and all that, make a week's worth of food, and you're going around and you're saying, okay, well, I need so many calories of this and so many grams of protein of this for this, and so that's a cup and a half of chicken and that, and then there's this, and there's okay, well, that's a cup and a half of rice or quinoa or whatever it is, the vegetable. Then you really get to know, for doing that for months on end, then you are more apt to have more successful unscheduled eating and staying within your nutrition plan. But again, you could go off point. So if you're trying to lose body fat, again, what I want to say is you can eat the same foods, the foods that you love, the foods that you like. It doesn't have to be some slave restrictive diet, monastic bodybuilder just eats rice, broccoli, and chicken, 24/7. If you enjoy that, you can do that. But if you don't enjoy that, then don't do it, because it's not a positive reinforcement to your weight loss goals or your bulking goals for that matter. It's funny because people have come to me and asked for help in regards to routines and nutrition plans, and they don't understand why they can't lose weight. And I explain this whole thing is what I'm explaining to you is give me a list of foods that you love, give me a list of foods that you don't like, and give me a list of foods that you absolutely hate. And then when I come up with a nutrition plan with these people that meets their caloric needs and their macros, the ratios that they're supposed to hit, they can enjoy the foods that they love, the foods that they like to eat. Stay away from the stuff that they don't like and the foods that they hate or are allergic to or whatever, because that's not a positive reinforcement to have them continue on their weight loss journey. So, but with that being said, I've also had people come to me and say, okay, I like this, I like this, and I like this. And if I ate that, every day, I'd be happy for the rest of my life. And it's like, you sure you don't want some variety in this? And it's nope, nope. It's easier for me, and I like the taste of it. So I'm going to do the chicken and this, or I'm going to do the beef and this and whatever. And I'm just going to have that for dinner for, every day for the next 8 to 12 weeks. It's like, okay, well, just know that if you get bored of that, we can make some other meals. Nope, 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 nope. And those people are perfectly happy because that's what they enjoy. So if you enjoy the structured same meals for breakfast, lunch, and dinner every single day for 8 to 12 weeks or however long, and that's part of your overall nutrition plan for longevity, in other words, you could carry that out for the rest of your life, then go run with that. There's absolutely nothing wrong with that. But the one thing I will say is I will not put my food likes or dislikes on other people with their nutrition plans because it's negative reinforcement. If I get, for example, I love oatmeal. I love oatmeal. I love oatmeal. I love oatmeal. Put a banana in there, put some protein powder in there, put some fruits in there and bananas or whatever. Mix that all up with a little bit of butter and a little bit of sweetness in there. Cook that up. I am one happy camper, and I could eat that for eternity, in perpetuity. I could eat oatmeal for every single breakfast meal. That would not disappoint me. For somebody that doesn't like oatmeal, I am not going to tell them you need to eat oatmeal because that is not going to help them. That actually shows if there is a fitness trainer or a personal trainer that is telling you to eat certain foods that you don't like and the reason that they're telling you to do it this way is because that's how they did it. And so they have these blinders on and they think that, well, the way I did is the only way that everybody should do it. And so that's what I'm telling everybody to do. It doesn't matter if you like it or not. This is what you must do because this is what works. That shows me that that personal trainer is an idiot. Okay. That they don't understand nutrition. They don't understand what positive reinforcement is. It shows me that they didn't do an assessment for that particular individual for their likes and dislikes. I mean, it's just absolutely crazy. If you run across a personal trainer like that, that demands that you must eat certain foods that you don't like and that you hate, run away because that just shows that they're unprofessional. It just shows that they, even if they're certified personal trainer and they got weeks and years of training or whatever, if they resort to that, that means that they have lost their way in regards to being a professional personal trainer. So, yeah, I know we talked about a lot of things here in regards to unscheduled eating, how the getting over too many calories because we underreport the amount of calories that we take in can derail your bulking, gaining muscle. It can also derail your fat loss goals. And then we talked about intuitive eating and how there's some problems with that. But here's a disclaimer. If you read really deep into intuitive eating, it can work, but there's still the elephant in the room is the underreporting of calories. So until you get to a place, so for example, I've been working out for many, many years. And after doing my 3 year plus recomp, where I measured probably about 98% of the food that went down this pie hole, measuring out the beef, the chicken, the turkey, the this, the that, the beans, the lentils, the veggies, the pasta, the whole 9 yards, all of the great Korean barbecue, all the great foods that I love to eat, measuring those things out for a week's worth at a time over a period of 3 years, you get the experience of knowing and you can accurately estimate and say, okay, well, this is how, if I go have to eat out with somebody, I know that I don't have to eat all of this meat, but I know the size of meat because I've done enough meal preps and measuring to know that this is going to keep me within my plan. So yeah, I might not eat the entire meal, but I will eat enough to meet my measurements. And because I've practiced that enough over the years, that I have a way better estimation of calories. And even then, it's not 100% because, like we saw on the webpage, that processed foods can have 8 to 18% more calories. And in some restaurants, some items have up to 200% more calories than their counterparts. So again, there's a lot of different variables that come into play, and definitely the unscheduled eating is probably the worst thing that you can do. Intuitive eating, does it answer that problem? Can it fix you? Can it help you? I think it can to some degree, but it's still, you're settling for less. I think if you actually focus on the calories and you focus on your macros and more importantly, a long-term nutrition plan, then you can do pretty much whatever you want. You can lose body fat, you can gain muscle, you can do both and do a recomp, but it's going to take time and energy. And I think that's another problem with the intuitive eating is that people aren't going to put the time and energy into it. And when you remove that variables of measuring out your calories and tracking your macros, you're going to underreport or overestimate the amount of that's enough protein when actually it's not. There's other studies that show that as we get older, we don't eat as much as we should, and we still have problems estimating protein intake, which has an adverse effect on our health. So, yeah, a lot of stuff going on talking about unscheduled eating. So, probably the biggest thing for me that helped me when I was doing my cut, my body recomp, I went from 210 pounds, skinny fat, I had no arms, no shoulders, no chest. I had the pot belly. I had that Dunlap disease over my belt buckle. I had the jiggly ass and the skinny legs. It didn't look pretty. So I went from 210 pounds up to 263 pounds, took just over 3 years to do that. And then I cut down from 263 to 245. And again, all with tracking my calories, tracking my macros, having a very structured plan in which I could do those things with the foods that I enjoyed. Now, obviously, having a latte, it's not a problem because it's included in the plan. Having a cookie, having some ice cream, it's not a problem because it was included in my plan. I had to do more time and energy into my nutrition plan to track all of these things and stay on point. But yeah, it actually works. Now, the unscheduled eating, the big thing that I see that where people lose when it comes to body fat and weight loss is that, where was I going to go with this? Cheat meals. Cheat meals. Cheat meals, as we said in the beginning, can derail everything. And if you have multiple cheat meals, it can really just ruin your progress to such a great degree that it ends up becoming frustrating. And then your weight loss journey and your nutritional journey ends up being not a positive reinforcement, but a negative one. So with cheat meals is unscheduled eating or unaccounted for calories that you're taking in by saying, okay, well, for the past 7 days, I've been doing really, really good. So I'm going to spend a day, and have a number of meals, or I'm just going to splurge. That can actually put you back into at least a calorie maintenance level, and in some cases, out of your deficit and into a surplus because of the problems that we mentioned. So, but people still want to have some type of positive reinforcement, and that's the biggest thing that I saw in the things that I experienced was, well, I deserve, look at all the good work I did. I deserve some positive reinforcement, so I'm going to have a cheat meal or multiple cheat meals. And then I derailed my progress, and it was like, okay, I'm not losing as much body fat as I want. Why is this? And it's like I'm doing what everybody else says in regards to cheat meals. And then I'm like, well, wait a second. If the whole thing is based on me and my accountability, and I still want to treat myself and have some positive reinforcement as a congratulations to spur me on to continue on this journey and still eat the same good foods, why don't I have a treat meal? Now, a treat meal is something where if you have, let's say, 2,000 calories a day and your macros are 40, 40, and 20, carbs, protein, and fats, and you eat that every day, you're hitting that and you're losing your body fat and you're doing fat. If I want to have a treat meal, in other words, it's still going to be scheduled. Those calories are going to be accounted for, and I'm still going to meet my macros. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to rob Peter to pay Paul. So in other words, on some days, I might reduce the amount of carbs and reduce the amount of fats that I have and maybe a little bit of protein. And I'm going to take that from a few days and then I'm going to put it onto my cheat meals so that I eat more on those days. But for the overall week, I'm still meeting my calorie intake and my macros. And I still get to enjoy a great meal where sometimes I get to splurge a little bit. And instead of just having, the half serving of spaghetti with the grilled chicken and whatever, I can have the whole thing. Okay. If I can have the cream white pasta sauce, with shrimp and scallops or the risotto or whatever it is, Korean barbecue, instead of having a little bit here, I can have a little bit more and splurge and enjoy myself, but still remain within my plan for that week. And that in itself was a huge of confidence for me. It was a great positive reinforcement because then I did get to reward myself by saying, okay, you did good work for the week, and I rewarded myself. I felt that satisfaction. I felt good. I had that positive reinforcement, and that was just like, hey, every week was like another victory, another congratulations of, hey, great job. Here is your reward, and I still stayed within my plan. Versus trying to stay within my plan, having some cheat meals and blowing my calorie deficit and then feeling bad because I didn't make the progress that I wanted to make. And thus I was frustrated, and then it ends up being negative reinforcement. Yeah, that was a huge game changer for me personally. I don't know about anybody else, but for me, that hit home. And when I kind of figured that out, I haven't seen anybody else figure this out. Maybe somebody else has. I'm not that smart of a guy. But if you can stay within your plan, rob Peter and take some calories here and some protein here and fats here and carbs here from these few other days of the week and put them on to your treat meals, I have found that was the most beneficial way for me to reward myself, to have positive reinforcement, and still lose that body weight that I wanted to lose. Now, another thing I want to talk about just before we go, because I know this video is getting long, we're coming up on 40 minutes. But the last thing, people will contact me and they'll say, hey, well, I was doing the calorie deficit thing and I was losing weight. I was losing 1 to 2 pounds a week. And then I got down to where I'm losing like 1 pound a week. And then now it's kind of plateaued. I don't understand. And it's like, there's a simple reason for this. If you are following your nutrition plan, the answer is simple. You need to redo your caloric calculator. A guy got with me. He had lost like 20 some odd pounds, and he says, but I can't lose any more weight. I don't know what I'm doing wrong. I'm still doing the same nutrition plan. I'm still doing my same exercise plan. I don't have unscheduled eatings. I'm meal prepping, the whole 9 yards. And it's like, well, what are your numbers for your daily caloric intake, and what are your macros? And this person's like, well, hey, here's the calories, here's the macros, so on and so forth. And then when you plug into a caloric calculator, his age, his height, his weight, his sex, and his activity, and the goal of losing body weight, if you put in the new numbers for his new body weight, which was 23 or 25 pounds less than what it was before, we actually found out that he needed to drop his caloric intake a little bit more. So, yeah, if you're coming to a place and you know that your nutrition plan is good and you've lost a significant amount of weight, redo the calculator and you will often find, more often than not, that you need to reduce the calories even more. With that being said, caloric calculators are based on averages and it's based on a formula. It's not 100%. It's kind of a rule of thumb, and some thumbs are bigger than others, some taller, smaller, whatever. So you might have to adjust. So let's say if you do the numbers on a caloric calculator or macro calculator for losing body fat, and you're not losing enough, or you're not losing any at all, simply deduct another 1 to 200 calories off of that, run that for a few more weeks and see how you go. And again, it's just an estimate. Those calculators can be off. There was one fitness article that I read, and I can't find it for the life of me, but it ends up that those things can have a variance or an error rate of like 30%. And again, it doesn't take into account your individual physique. Because it just takes everybody and throws it in and comes up with this average, that comes out for the majority. So realize that your caloric calculator numbers are going to need to be tweaked for your situation. So if you run it and you're trying to lose body fat and it's like, I should be losing 2 pounds a week, but I'm only losing one, drop another 100 calories, drop another 200 calories, run that for a few weeks, track, monitor, see where you're at. And if you start losing 2 pounds a week, boom, then you know how your body responds in regards to your nutrition plan for losing body fat. And again, I've seen variances between that. Even running different caloric calculators from many different websites will have different variances because there's different formulas that can be used. There's different macro ratios that can be used. There's some that have custom macro ratios that you can adjust for your carbs and your proteins and your fats that will have an effect on your weight loss. So keep that in mind as well. And again, with the underreporting of people and their calories, that just shows why it's important to measure your food, why it's important to count your calories, to keep in that deficit to lose body fat, but do it with the foods that you love. Because if you don't love the food that you eat, if you don't like the food that you eat, then it becomes negative reinforcement, and that's not a good thing. So, with that being said, we're going to finish that up. I got to finish up and take some Dayquil or NyQuil, or maybe I'll mix them both and they'll fight it out together and I'll get rid of this cold. We'll see how that goes. But anyway, put your comments in regards to unscheduled eating, intuitive eating. What are the problems that you found in your weight loss journey that was kind of like an aha moment? I was doing this, I wasn't losing weight, and then I did this and I started losing more weight. Put that in the comment section down below. And that will help other people out, that they can get that, see that aha moment that you experience, kind of like what I experienced, and we can share it for the community. All right, with that being said, that's enough. Like, subscribe, the whole 9 yards, you know about that. And we'll see you on the next video. Peace. Yep, good stuff.